let me hear your story here, Josh, and how you came into interested in music and how you got started with the band.
All right, which one you want first?
Well,
Where do
let's
we
do how
start?
you. Let's start with your early days growing up.
Early days growing up. Let's see, I grew up in Long Island until I was about 10.
Okay.
And then my brother was in the orchestra there playing cello. And we moved to Massachusetts. They didn't have an orchestra, so they switched him to electric bass.
Oh,
And
okay.
then I used to sneak into his room and grab his guitar when he was away. And, I was like the annoying little brother when he was at rehearsal and they'd go out for a break or something. I'd
Right.
sneak in there and play. And then one right graduation year of high school, I joined a band that was playing a lot of clubs around New York, Boston, Rhode Island. So I was playing CBGBs and
Oh,
places
you
like
did.
that.
Okay. Was this
Yeah,
the
yeah,
early eight? Was this the early '80s days or the mid
yeah.
'80s?
Mid '80s, yeah,
Okay.
around then. And then I put together a band with a bunch of friends called the Elevator Drops. And that band got signed to Arista, and then we were touring with Pulp and Blur
Oh,
and
really?
Garbage,
Wow. Oh,
Echo and
wow.
the Bunnymen, and
Oh,
so that
that's a
was
great band. Wow.
yeah, that was fun. Will was really nice to us, Will Sargent.
Oh, that's good. That's always nice when a headlining act is nice to the opening act. That always
Yeah,
helps.
I have a funny memory of him. At the time, they were called Electrofiction, and their label had just dropped them. And I was sitting in an alleyway in Kansas City behind the theater we were playing, next to a dumpster, just sitting there with a guitar. And I see Will and Ian walking up the alley. They didn't look very happy. Ian goes in. Will sits down next to me. And I'm like, so how do you play the
Mm,
Killing Moon? And he's like, oh, that's easy, mate. And grabs the guitar, shows me how to
mm.
play Killing Moon. We just sat there just playing for a while. It's a good memory.
Oh, that's a great. Yeah, that they were a great band. So after that, you continued more groups playing in, or was it did this last a while?
Yeah, so the
The band
Elevator
you were in?
Drops ended in like 99, around there. And then I went off and joined a band called The Rentals with Matt Sharp, who
I've
was
heard of
bass.
them. I think so.
Yeah, he was in Weezer, bass player for Weezer, and did a bunch of touring with him. Did Japan, and we did a residency
Mm.
in Paris, and yeah, that was great. And then he and I wound up living together in Leapers Fork, Tennessee, and we made a couple records for him in the house there, because that was my main
Oh,
gig after Elevator Drops. I was more of a producer,
okay.
than I mean, I was still playing and stuff. And then I wound up touring with Adam Green as his guitar player for a while.
Mm.
And then I was helping out Jerry with Something for Everyone at Sunset Sound Studio 3
Okay.
for their record. Just,
Right.
adding things like snare and like vintage drum, like electronic drums and some
Right.
keyboards, editing vocals and things like that. And I met him because I was helping him produce a female artist that he was working with. And then, we just stayed friends, and he's friends with my brother, Paul, who's the engineer. And um, when Bob too passed away, he called me to fill in for him for, the remainder gigs that they had booked.
Okay.
And it went well, and I've been there ever since.
That's amazing. Wow.
Yeah.
How's it working with Mark there? He's like a genius, that guy. He just does so much creative stuff.
Well, it's interesting because they're all geniuses. It's
Oh
like
yeah, it's true though.
they're all like Jerry's brilliant, Mark's brilliant, Bob, like they're very unique people, and they're all brilliant in their own way. So you could see
Mm.
how that chemistry of those combinations of personalities makes Devo what it is. And I'm sure, Bob was really sweet. I got to meet him a few times before he passed away.
Mm.
But yeah, Mark is, he's great. Yeah, he knows what he's a great keyboard player too.
Oh, I
That's
know.
you
I
know,
know. And a soundtrack guy. I mean, what for films and soundtracks and I
yeah,
mean, he's super creative.
very busy man. Very
I'm sure
busy.
he is.
Yeah.
So, how do you guys get time to play? You know, in between all this, do you do a lot of touring at all?
Yeah, we do a lot of touring. It's in spurts because it's usually interspersed between Mark doing soundtracks and all that stuff. But we'll do big chunks and then we'll take months off, and then we'll like we have I think like May through September coming up for touring. And
And
what's that?
is this like a couple days here and there, or do you actually do a full-fledged tour?
Yeah, sometimes they're a few weeks, sometimes they're a month, or they like to space the shows out because it's a pretty high energy show still. I mean,
Oh,
those
okay.
guys run circles around me. I mean,
Yeah,
they're it what in the 70s, I guess, but
that's amazing.
yeah.
That you can keep up that energy like that even at that age.
Yeah, it's something to do with the music though. It just gets in you and you can't help it. It's sort of like
Well,
in your DNA, you know.
well, I think once a band becomes really good, it becomes its own entity. As
Yeah.
far as individuals, because all of a sudden it's this thing. It's
Yeah.
Devo,
And
and
when it's like the third show into a tour, the
yeah,
first couple shows getting hang, and then the third show where you're not thinking and everything's just automatic, and it's just magic when that happens. It's just like a train rolling that
you
doesn't
can't
stop.
beat that. That
Yeah.
that's euphoric feeling. I've had that in shows where it just feels like wow, everything's going great.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
nothing can go wrong. I wanted to
And
ask you about the Are We Not Men uh, film. Do you know anything about that? Did that ever come out? I know that was supposed to be
I think
happening.
so. Yeah. So that's what got one of the things that got me reintroduced to Devo because when I was a kid, I saw them on Fridays and Saturday Night Live, and my head just popped. Something changed. And
Right.
then later, a friend of mine left a video cassette in my loft of the men who make the music, and I just watched that on loop. That was a big influence on the Elevator Drops and stuff. But I think all of that footage has been remastered and retransferred, and it's supposed to be coming out. There's going to be a lot of stuff coming out, audio as well, because I don't know what their plans are for releasing, but there's a lot of archiving that's been going on last
Uh,
couple of years.
are they going to put like a box set? You guys going to put like a box set out of music? I know a lot of bands are doing that these
Yeah,
days.
I really don't know. I don't know what the
Okay.
plans are. I do know that there's things like Are We Not Men? Like the first record has been transferred to digital and still has Eno's tracks on it that got turned
Oh, it
down.
does. Oh, that's a
Yeah, yeah.
great record. That's a
That's my
really
favorite.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. It's just so ahead of its time.
Yeah.
And then you guys have a convention, right? That Devo does every
Yeah,
year.
devotional. Yeah.
Now,
Yep.
where's that take place?
Akron, Ohio.
Oh, okay. And is it a 1 day
I
festival
think
or is it?
usually it's a weekend, like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or a few days. And then they have guests come in, like, they'll have Michael Schwartz, who played Rod Reuter, or, Jerry will be there, or Mark, or Bob. And they have like a marathon, and they have all
Oh,
kinds of
nice.
fun events. Yeah.
That is great for fans because you have so many devout fans out there.
Yeah.
You guys have been around they've been around for over 50 years, right? Playing music.
Long time.
It's
Yeah.
amazing. What strange story I wanted to ask you about was this John Hinckley, with the poem. Did you ever hear
Yeah.
about that? Did that ever get like settled or they just like it stopped happening? That's a really strange story.
Yeah. I don't know if there was anything settled, but it did I think wind up as lyrics sort of for on the record. But I don't know. I don't think they had any contact with him or anything like
Okay.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I read up on that. I'm saying, man, that's really a unusual story there for
Yeah.
sure. Now, what kind of festivals have you guys done? Anything memorable since you've been in the band?
Loads. Yeah. I mean,
Loads, I'm sure.
Cruel World was one that was memorable where we played and then Bauhaus went on and there was a blood red moon over the stage as they were playing Bela Lugosi's Dead.
Oh,
And
wow.
it was a perfect moment. But there's loads. There's punk rock festival. There's a punk rock bowling. Um, there was one we did just recently with New Order, and Tears for
Oh, they're
Fears.
still around. That's good.
Yeah, they're still going.
That's great. And what about this Rose Bowl golf course? That's an unusual show? Did you guys play on at a golf course?
I didn't. No, that would have been
That was
before my
probably
time.
earlier, right? But
Yeah,
that was an unusual story.
yeah.
And then you guys, couple original members of the band came back. Bob and Gerald. Are they back in the band
Oh,
in
they never left.
2020?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
they've always been in the
Okay.
band. Yeah. So
Okay,
it's
that's
always been
great.
original members except for Alan. Alan passed away,
Okay.
and then Josh Fries took his place, and then I stepped in for Bob too, and then Josh is now off, obviously busy with other things, and during that whole 10, 14 years or so, it was alternating between Jeff Friedl and Josh Fries back and
Okay.
forth. So
And
Jeff's been in the band almost as long. I mean, I know Josh was in the band in the 90s,
hmm,
and it's funny because we just did a show in Pittsburgh for the Andy Warhol Museum, and I saw in the distance there's an amusement park on the hill as we're driving up, and that's where I
oh,
met Devo for the first time in 1996,
oh,
because
wow.
Josh had introduced me, and I went backstage. We were hanging out and did the log flume together and stuff.
No, that's really something. Well,
Yeah,
there's a post-punk museum, in Chicago.
right.
Punk,
Yeah,
punk.
I didn't get a chance to see it,
Yeah,
but I heard it's
Martin
good.
Atkins. Martin Atkins runs it from Pill. Used to be in Pill and a couple other groups. So I had a chance to talk to him. It sounds like a really neat place with all this memorabilia there
Yeah.
of that era. I mean, that
There's
was
a
just such a.
place
Go
in
ahead.
Boston called the Bieber Archives. That's a big archive of artifacts and fun things.
Now, a big band in Boston was Mission of Burma. Do you
Yep.
remember those guys?
Yep.
Yeah, they were really good. Roger Miller, I got a
Yeah.
chance to talk to. He's a very creative guy with all this guitar solo stuff he does.
Oh yeah, they were great. They were probably one of the seminal bands to come from Boston.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
absolutely. Yeah, they were really good. Now, what did you do with David Byrne? Were you involved with that? With the
uh,
the
I wasn't. My brother was. Yeah, my brother
okay.
worked with David Byrne. Yeah.
And have you guys ever played with back any things with David Byrne, his solo?
No.
Uh, I know he's still doing a lot of music.
Yeah, he's still going. He puts on a great show too.
Oh, I'm sure he does. He's still bicycles around New York. That's what
Right.
I heard. Yeah,
Got to
it's
be
pretty
careful.
wild. I think Devo put out a book too, didn't they? It's a couple books, so they have.
Yeah, there've been several books. Yeah. Yeah,
Were
there's
you involved in that? Were you in those?
no, that's mostly Michael Pilmer handles that sort of end of things when it comes to the merch and books, and he actually does quite a bit for the devotional festival.
No, okay.
Yeah, he does a lot of work, a lot of behind the scenes stuff, and he goes on tour with us and does the costuming and stuff like that.
So that's what's nice. And then do you have like people set up your equipment for the show or like
Yeah, we
roadies?
have.
Ah, that's great.
That's one of the things that I'm grateful for is we have a great crew. Without the crew, you're screwed. So we
I'm
have,
sure.
Ed Marshall handles all the guitars, and let's see, Al Judd does all the keyboard work and over by the monitor board. And yeah, there's so many people. There's Roxy, there's my brother, there's
Oh,
Dean, there's.
that is great. You're in an A division band where you just have to go there to sound check, everything's set up. You
I
do
know.
the sound check, then you come on, do the show. Yeah. We never had roadies when I was playing. I wish we did, to
Me
set
neither.
up stuff.
It's funny because I was doing. I had a band called Shadow Party with Tom and Phil from New Order, and Nick McCabe from The Verve played on the record, and Denise Johnson. It was a good band, but I had to go over and do shows in England, and hauling your own amp and loading the van rides and sleeping on
No, that's terrible.
floors, and yeah.
Well, we had one trip where they lost our equipment.
Oh,
And we had
really?
to play that, and we had to play that night, all our percussion stuff. And the guys had to go around London. This was in London, and they had to find equipment for that show, like any kind of handheld instruments.
What year
It
was
was
that?
crazy. well, 2010.
Oh,
It
wow.
was like we had a second reunion
Yeah.
tour, and some crazy thing where they changed flights. We were from Toronto to London, and it all got messed up. So
Did
we
you ever
got
get
to
the gear
suffer.
back?
We did the day after.
Of
We
course.
finally did, but
Oh,
by then, but we only played like 2 shows. We were notorious for playing one show and coming home. you
oh,
know, we went to Norway once for one show.
oh,
Is
wow.
that insane? A
That
festival.
you get the post-tour depression there.
You
Like
do pretty fast. You do more
every
traveling.
time we tour and I come home, it takes me about 3 or 4 days to get over it. But you just get like you sink into this because you're so used to moving and moving and
Yeah.
moving. You know.
And you guys play consecutive nights in a row, or do you take a day off between shows? How's that work with these guys?
Yeah, we used to do whatever. It was 2, 3 in a row. But I think
Right.
now we have it set up a little better where there's going to be like a day in between shows. But sometimes that works against you because you're on a roll
That's
and
true.
everything's snappy and like tight. And then you take a day off and it kind of loosens up a little bit. And you got to get.
Well,
So it goes either way.
I heard an interview with a gentleman from the band The English Beat, and he
Yeah,
was saying that he's going on tour, and he said one day off is enough, but once it's 2 days, then you get
right.
this off rhythm of you're not playing, and it's just says
Yeah.
it throws you off.
It's like constantly your first show.
Right, and that's a tough thing, I guess, to do. So,
Yeah.
what are you playing in the band? What kind of keyboards are you using?
So right now I'm using Korg TR-61s that were Bob's, and they had all of his sounds loaded in. And actually, right, I'm supposed to have a meeting about this soon, but we're gonna swap out the keyboards for a new rig. So I have to pick out what would be the best thing.
Right.
But yeah, because the they're getting old. They're from the early '90s, I think.
Oh
Uh,
wow,
Mark still has his Model D, but I think he's got the modern one now. They built him a new one so it stays in tune a little better.
that's great.
Sounds exactly the same, just stays in tune.
See, that's what's great. You're able to get the same sounds on these keyboards from that you need for the Devo sound.
Right.
That makes a big difference.
It
And
does,
then
yeah.
and you're playing guitar too? You do have what's the
Yeah, I
group?
play probably 60, maybe 70% of the set on guitar.
Okay.
So with that, I have a custom made Fender that they made for me called a J2 V2 that was
Oh
made by
wow.
Ron Thorne over at Fender.
That is great. And then you have a lot of pedals you use, or just you
No,
have a
we're
big
using
pedal board?
fractals.
Oh
We
wow.
Yeah, it's all fractal, which we just got brand new ones, the new threes or whatever. So I got to dig into the programming, but you can really like you could go in and swap out tone stacks and tubes and how old are the
Hmm.
tubes and where does the mic go
Oh
on the
man,
speaker? What kind of speaker? Like all that stuff.
the
And
technology is amazing.
I know I was a little skeptical at first because I'm an amp guy.
Right.
But once you hear those, if you have like my setup, I have monitors behind me and in front of me, just blasting that.
Right.
It's pretty cool.
Now you have you use the earplugs for the sound, or no earplugs, or
No,
just oh that's
yeah,
great.
it's all monitors. I don't think, I mean, I'm sure the crew would love us to do that because it would cut costs and all that. But none of us have gotten used to the in-ear monitor thing. And
Hmm.
I just I think we are so used to feeling the air move on
Right.
stage that
I was reading about the ear monitors though that the problem with that is you could have somebody louder in those monitors from somebody else, and so you could be listening to maybe a sax player more than the other people if you want. So it doesn't unless you balance it out right.
yeah,
I
yeah.
that's one of the problems I heard with that. And how about your? I know my hearing's gone a little bit. Your hearing still okay? These guys hear okay? They're no
Yeah, I
problem.
mean, I think, as we get older, we lose a little more top end, but
Right.
last I had my hearing tested, I can't believe it, but it was fine. I mean, we used to play
Hmm.
loud. you know. But yeah, knock on wood.
That's great. Yeah, because I've lost some of that top end. I know that. It's
Yeah.
just from a lot of headphones and a lot of, I used to be a drummer too. So
Oh,
I always
yeah,
had
that's
headphones on, playing the music, with that loud music back of me. So that happens. So
but in the
what's
studio, it's all pedals, it's all amps
I see you
here.
got a lot of keyboards. Are you doing solo music too?
Yeah, so there's a couple different things in the works where you know, I had a solo thing called Garvey J for a while there's a whole bunch of things in the can, and then there's new stuff that I'm doing, and I'm working with Fan Modine, Gordon Zacharias on a new thing called It's No Game, and that's what these guys are pretty
Well,
much for.
okay.
We have the old Lindrums and the
Oh, wow.
Sonics and Akai's.
Oh, that is great. Remember the Oberheim DX? I remember that one.
Wish I had one. Yeah.
Yeah, that was classic. And the Prophet 5, all
Yep.
those Prophet 5 sounds from the 80s. Seems like they used a lot of the same settings, on
Yeah.
those records.
And the new Prophet 5s are amazing.
I imagine they are.
Yeah.
If you ever get a chance, there's a keyboard museum in Pennsylvania outside of
Okay.
Philly. I've been there twice already, but they have all this old gear.
Oh,
The
nice.
CS Yamaha 80. They have one of
Yeah.
those. All this Mellotron, everything. They have Keith Emerson's rig.
Wow.
There's
I should go there
Cynthia.
with Mark. Mark has quite the collection too.
Oh, he does.
Oh, he's
If
got
you get it,
warehouses full of keyboards. It's
oh
crazy.
man, he should
Yeah.
don't. If he's not doing any one of them, donate one of them because they're setting up a museum there. It's
Well,
not done yet.
maybe we could do something with one of these TR-61s when we're not using it or something, you know.
I'll get you the contact info.
Okay.
And they also have amps there of famous people. They have one of Jimi Hendrix's pedals, and
Wow.
they have this amazing Moog collection of from the early Moogs all the way to the present. If you ever get out there, it's outside of Philly. It'd be worth it to go to see it because it's phenomenal.
Okay. Yeah, I
It's
think we're doing Philly at some point, so.
it's in one of the just recent videos I did because I've
Okay.
been there twice already. But if you're a keyboardist, and Mark, he would probably love it too.
Yeah.
So, what's the plans for 2025 with Devo?
As far as I know, right now there's shows in May, some in June, some in July, and some in September.
Okay.
Some have been announced, some haven't, so I probably shouldn't be
Oh,
specific, but
okay. And then, how about recording? Is there any plans for a new record that Devo's going to work on, or?
it's hard to say because I do a lot of stuff. I do a lot of recording with Jerry and Steve Bartek and Alex, Bob Two's son. Bob,
Okay.
he's on bass, and we have a song or two in the can, and we're just waiting to mix them with my brother and stuff. So there's a bunch of Jerry solo stuff, and I know Mark talked about there's some old Devo stuff that got transferred that maybe could be tweaked and modernized. But there's, it's sort of difficult for me not being out there in LA. Like,
Right.
I go out there a lot, but I mainly live in Massachusetts, and I go out there for, touring or rehearsals or the
Right.
NAMM. I'm going to NAMM in January.
Oh, I would love to go to that. I haven't never been to Nam.
Oh, you should
I
go. It's
would,
fun.
I would love to go
You could
one day.
podcast from there.
That's true. I don't know. We'll see. That would probably
Yeah,
be pretty fun. But that's going to be sounds like you're going to be busy in the spring and summer with
I
some
know. It's going to be
projects.
good. Yeah,
So now with digital technology and the internet, you guys can just do so many remote things now.
it's true. Yeah,
Especially,
I'm sort of trying to wean myself off of Pro Tools, and I was checking out Logic because those guys use Logic at Mutado and stuff. So
okay.
I've been digging into that lately, and it's a little bit of a learning curve, but it's amazing what it
I'm
does.
Oh, yeah. I still have Pro Tools. I should look into that.
Well, Pro Tools, the problem I have with them is they kind of hold your ransom, where if you're not
That's
paying
true.
that,
You're right.
you don't pay the monthly fee. Oh, I guess you can't open your old files. I
No,
guess you can't
oh
do,
boy.
you know what I mean? And it's like, oh, I got to hold on to this until I can transfer everything somehow. But
Well, yeah, that's what they do.
originally I was going to go more Reaper because it's free and it does probably more than what Logic does. But Logic's stable. It runs with, and also one of the options maybe for the live keyboards was MainStage. So it would be good to
No.
know, that's an option. We might go analog.
Well, that's a okay. Now, do you have tape that you record on analog tape or just digital?
Um, Mostly digital now. I did have a 3M M79 16-track 2-inch, which
Oh, okay.
I loved, except there was a tech that came into the studio and just destroyed it and
Oh
lost parts.
man.
Yeah, I had to sell it.
Oh,
I think it's sitting out in
oh
the guy who
boy.
owns the record plant bought it, so it's probably out in LA somewhere. I don't know if I think the record plant closed, so maybe I can buy it
Now
back.
the Devo. Now they record mostly on digital out there. Mark with his projects.
Yeah, yeah, it's mostly digital.
Now,
When we did something for everyone, my brother and I, that was the whole point of it, was book, because they were doing stuff at Mutado already, demoing and this, and Paul and I came up with the idea of, okay, let's bring them to Sunset Studio 3, track on the Studer analog, real amps,
there you go.
analog keyboards, like and looking up the mic setup for Duty Now for the drums and getting all the mics the same, and so we had it sort of Devo 1979 sounding, and then they got signed to Warner's, and then Warner's kind of handed those tracks off to producers, and the producers would like take Jerry's bass off and put Santa Gold,
Oh,
take
oh
the drum machine
man.
off, take Josh Freeze off and put drum machine on, quote unquote,
Oh, that's the
quote
worst.
unquote, because the drums were too robotic, we decided to put a drum machine on.
Oh
My favorite,
man, these idiots.
yeah, that was a Rod
Oh,
Bruder moment for sure in real life.
well, these aren't really they're businessmen, I guess. They don't really have a sense of what I guess you guys were about. I don't understand why they did that.
Well, I
That's
don't think they
crazy.
understood. It's sort of a weird thing where you have a band that's ahead of their time, that has a
Right,
unique sound and a unique presentation and a unique concept. And then I think things can kind of go wrong where people are like, no, but you got to appeal to like the 16-year-olds, and you got to
right,
be hip to what's going on now. And it's like, no, just do what you do, you
right.
know?
Well, people catch up to it. I mean, they're still playing a couple art songs 40 years later. And who would
Right.
believe it, right?
Yeah. I
That
mean,
this
Uncontrollable Urge is more popular now than Whip It,
I would think so.
you
Now, do
know?
you put it out? Do you have a label that you put out your music on, or is it just Bandcamp or
Yeah, I
Spotify?
mean,
Or
well, when we did the Shadow Party stuff, that was on Mute Records out of
I know those guys.
London. Yeah. And then once I went through the experience again of being on a label like that, I realized, what's the point? There's no
Yeah,
point. They take such a big percentage from you,
but
and then they just throw the shit against the wall. If it doesn't stick, then whatever. At least if you do it yourself, you get all the money.
that's
And
right.
you can hire the same promo people, the same radio people, the same, so it doesn't make sense to me anymore to really even be on a label.
I mean, I just put out things on Bandcamp now. I went through these indie labels one after another.
Yeah.
One record, that's it. Another record,
And then
it's the way it is.
you want to try and re-release that record, say for the 10-year anniversary or something. Then you got to go through somebody else, get their permission, do
Right.
that whole dance. And then that happened with the Elevator Drops, like all of that stuff. I think in the contract it said they owned it in perpetuity. So we were young and
Oh.
stupid.
Well, we got caught up in the white lines mess,
What
with
was that?
Grandmaster Flash. Well, we had the song Cavern, and Grandmaster Flash took the song and made that hit White Lines. They took our
That's
bass line and all the parts.
wow.
This was 1983.
I play guitar on the Duran Duran version.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, there's
How
a
about
hand,
that?
Anthony Rusta was working in Boston on that,
Small
and one
world.
day he's like, "Why don't you come in and do a solo?" You know, because they couldn't come in, so I did some crazy. So it ended up on one of the remix versions or something like that.
That famous bass line, that they took that and yep, that's it. That
Yeah.
was our bass line. And then after that, the label folded. Ed Bauman
Wow.
and 99 Records, a great label with some really interesting artists, Glenn Branca,
Mm.
ESG. And after that, Ed Bauman just said he had enough of music. He tried to sue, and then the record Sugar Hill went out of business, so he
Wow.
couldn't sue. And he was putting all this money into it. It's part of the music scene, And then we finally got our rights back a few years ago in the U.S.
Oh, you
on
did?
on White Lines. Yeah, finally. It took this amount of time, to
And the
finally.
lawyers are the ones making the money. They make more money than the musicians do, you know?
You're right. They actually do. So that's our crazy history. It's you can look it up. It's on the internet. The guy wrote a story. I don't know how true it is, but so what happens, with this whole thing. So I think anything else, Josh? I think if you could send me a description, what you want me to put as far as links for your
Oh, okay.
music, for everything, and I'll put it in the description.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we could just put my Instagram and stuff and
Instagram, whatever you have
yeah.
that you want to put up.
Did you
I'll
want
make.
because I remember you were saying you wanted to talk about gear. Is there any gear stuff you wanted to talk about pedal wise or
Yeah, oh
guitar
yeah, I want
wise?
to hear about that too. Yeah, might as well. What kind of pedals are you using? That'd be great.
So lately I've gotten um a bunch of pedals sent to me by different companies. So I'm pretty floored by Chase Bliss.
Okay.
Empress sent me the Zoya, which is like it's a whole world in a pedal. So it's taken me a little while to figure it out.
Well, what is it
Um,
like a looper or reverb or all types of different
so it's like
scales?
it's like a patch-based synth in a pedal that has modules, so you can layer, like, let's say you want like 5 loopers in a row locked to your Pro Tools in sync. You can do that.
Oh
Going
wow!
going into whatever effect you want, going into a synthesizer that you could plug a MIDI cable in and control, or like it's endless. And
Wow!
and the Chase Bliss reverb, the THX that they sent me with it's got motorized faders on it, and the sound, once you pan that thing in stereo between 2 amps, mind blowing.
It's called
uh
Case Bliss. Is that the name of the company you said?
Chase Bliss,
Chase
yeah.
Bliss. Okay,
Yeah,
I got
they're
to
one of the
check that
best.
out.
Yeah.
Bliss. Okay.
um there's a new company that I'm going to meet on Friday that they live up the road called Cosmodio, and I'm looking forward to checking out their the Deep Well pedal.
Deep well. So they send you these demos to these units to try out or keep, and then you
Yeah,
talk about.
yeah.
That
Sometimes
is
they will,
great.
because I'll see something, I'll be like, oh, and then they'll be like, yeah, we'll send you one. Let us know what you think, and I'll put a little post or something. And most of the time, I mean, the technology has come such a long way with,
No, it really has. It's moved. It's moved in such a direction now. It's
yeah,
incredible how it's been able to go. With all this loopers and everything.
yeah.
So so is that the two main pedals that you're using, or is it?
So it
What
goes.
is,
Right now, I'm using an Empress compressor into a Nobles overdrive, into what's called the Tone Source 2 pedal, which is my pedal. I had a
right.
pedal company for a little while that was based on my pedal in the Elevator Drops. And
Okay.
Jack Barter at NEA Pedals, New England Apparatus, built them for me. And then we did a bunch of runs and sold out. Like, I think there's a bunch of different people that had them on their boards. So it's basically it's a Mongoose, which was a LM308AN Motorola chip in there. So it's
Okay.
like the Rat, but it's the good Rat, because
Yeah.
there's
Okay.
there's the LM308 and then the LM308AN, but they're national chips. But when you put those
Mm,
on the scope, the slew rate is square. You
okay.
put the Motorola has a bit of a curve to it, so it has more of a tube type of sound or reaction
So warm sound to give it a warmth.
Yeah, and it's a really, and it sort of feeds back on itself into the chip. So it's like a really thick, fat distortion.
Well, I'd love to get that. I got to look into that. I play guitar
Yeah.
once in a while. It's mostly experimental. And then I just bought a theremin.
Oh, nice.
I'm having a
Is
lot
it,
of fun with that. It's a
is it a
Moog theremin.
MIDI theremin or an old one?
It's just new. It's
Okay.
Moog makes it, and it's got 32 sounds.
On the back of it, does it have MIDI input and output?
Yes. Yeah, it's got
You could
MIDI input and output, and you could hook it up, I guess, to a keyboard. But it's been a lot of fun.
That's nice.
I jam with some friends, and it's funny how you can get all this great sounds on that. I haven't put it through any effects, but I can't imagine putting it through some of your effect boxes. It's probably
Another company, Red Panda, sent me a couple. Just incredible, like modern. One of them's a ring modulator. One of them's a delay that does all this extra stuff. The raster, I think it's called. I've been blown away by those as well. Like I like pedals, because normally it's like delay, chorus,
right,
distortion. But now there's pedals where they're doing things where, oh, I haven't heard that before. Oh, it does this, and and I can put synths through it as well as guitar, and
Well, I remember the Roland synthesizer guitar, the GR series.
I had one of those. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember Adrian Ballou was using that. I guess he's using it again for the Beat Tour with King Crimson. He was using that in the 80s.
Yeah.
But
there's the yellow one, which is the first one. Then there's the blue, and then there was the big silver one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the 707, 700.
And then you had to hook it to your guitar, though, right? You had a
hex pickup in your guitar. Yeah.
Right. I always was fascinated by that unit. I guess you don't play much of those anymore, right? You don't need to, right? With all the effects.
I used to. I think towards the end of the Elevator Drops, I had a synth pickup on my guitar running keyboards. We were only a 3-piece, but there's something. Yeah, I never really jived with guitar synths. It's like I don't know. I get bored with them. I'd rather just MIDI something or play something.
Right. How about an EBow? Have you ever used that?
I love EBows. Yeah, always.
I have an EBow myself. It's just so much fun using that.
I love crunching them down onto the pickup as you're playing. It adds that.
Oh yeah, that's a great sound.
Yeah,
it's so unique. I mean, I had the older one for a while, and then it broke. I guess it was a silver. It used to be like a silver color, and then the newer ones, I guess now they got 2 different tones on it. I guess you could use.
Yeah, it's like an octave up or something like that.
Right. Well, I got to look into these pedals.
A friend of mine, Scott Dakota, he's pedal obsessed, so he keeps me up to date with what the latest and greatest pedals are.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. I got to keep in touch. I guess I got to contact these companies. Hey, I'd like to try your pedal out.
Yeah. A lot of times they're just really cool people at these companies that they're nerds like us. Like they just want to make cool stuff.
That is great. And you're able to get it for being in the band and plus your own solo music. So it's really great. Well, Josh, this has been a real pleasure. Thank you for coming on. And,
awesome. Thanks for having me.
Good luck with the band and your solo music and another busy year. Maybe I someday could interview Mark, but I don't know. He's a busy guy.
Maybe. You never know.
Mention, hey, I'd be interested in talking to him sometime if
he's
ever interested. And good luck with everything. And I'll post everything in about a week. I'm kind of backlogged a little bit, but send me the descriptions of what you want me to put, and even any of the pedals too, if you want me to promote those.
I'll send you a picture of my pedal board.
Oh, I'd love that.
Yeah.
That would be great. So, Josh, all right. Nice talking to you. Thanks again. Have a good day.
See you, Dennis. Bye.
Be good. Bye.